So if you guys missed my last video about Games Workshop, man, what a doozy that one was. People came out in droves, and by droves, I mean it was a very small group of people that thought they were going to ratio my video, but failed massively since it has about a 97% to 3% like to dislike ratio. But that's besides the point. Games Workshop haters and lovers all together came out and decided to come after my video because I was talking about a couple of retail shops that decided to drop Games Workshop completely for a multitude of reasons, most of which have to do with bad business practices. Well, apparently, just to, for transparency's sake, Games Workshop stock has actually skyrocketed, and a lot of people are pointing towards Henry Cavill's now most recent show that he's going to put together with Amazon after finally striking a deal with them, because we know they were in limbo there for a second, but it continues to still lose ground as a retail store brand for a bunch of stores and customers alike.
Well, I guess the world will show me a little more respect now.
Dad, I tried to go to school, but this guy won't let me.
Oh, yeah? Him in what army?
The U.S. Army.
Oh, that's a good army.
Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, my goodness, the amount of people that came out with my last video, it was fantastic, guys. I love and appreciate all of the dislikes that I got on that video. It's because of you that video is currently sitting at almost 100,000 views, so I greatly appreciate you. Hopefully, you could do it again with this video, so make sure you dislike this video if you don't like me or you don't like my content or you just like to assume, which 95% of you did regarding my last video. But now we're going to talk about how the stock is going up, so maybe you guys who didn't like me talking about how they were dropped from certain retail stores and you want your toxic positivity, well, guess what? You found it, because now we're going to talk about how good their stock is doing and why that just might be. So let's get into this video, guys. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So we got a headline that reads, Games Workshop stock soaring after Henry Cavill Warhammer 40K show announcement, even though fan says that the retail store brand is losing ground. Now, one thing I will say is that I got an insane amount of comments on my last video from people who were agreeing with what I was saying, and they were essentially saying that 3D printers are huge in the Warhammer 40K community. I don't know if that's necessarily true or not. It's just a lot of comments that I was getting saying the same exact thing over and over and over again about 3D printers. You had this typical meme, 3D printers go burr, so I saw those comments, and I just want to make sure you guys, realize that I recognize them, and thank you for that information. But I can see why a lot of people would rather go 3D printer route just to, save some money. Games Workshop seems to be running into more problems as it goes into the holiday crunch. With the holidays, as it's been revealed, even in England, where Games Workshop makes its brand home, a user has noted that the local store has rebranded to Games Store, and it's been eerily empty lately. Warhammer 40K came to national attention in April when Games Workshop introduced the female Adeptus Custodes to the property in the most recent codex, the Adeptus Custodes, with an excerpt stating, and we already went over this, so I'm not going to go over it again. I've done so many videos on that. You guys already know where all the drama came from. Then the official Warhammer account on X confirmed the authenticity of the expert and declared the gaslighting comment that female Custodes have always existed, and that's what sent a lot of the Warhammer lore nerds crazy, and rightfully so, because they love gaslighting. Every time they make a change like this, I'd like to say, well, you just never saw it. You just never saw it. You need to get your media literacy up there, buddy, or you need to understand the lore better, buddy, because it never specifically stated that there was no, you know what I mean? It's just those typical gaslighters, those Wikipedia warriors. Yeah, they come out in droves. So again, this was proven to be untrue, given that there is information out there that shows these men never leave Earth, which very clearly shows that it's supposed to be men, not women. But since the announcement, the company has been exposed by inserting pronouns into their fiction, attacking Sargon of Akkad in one of the Warhammer fantasy novels, and even adding evil gender ideology to one of their Stormcast Eternal models to try to push the radical agenda. But while Henry Cavill unveiled that the brand will be moving from games IP to movie franchise this month, it appears as if the tabletop gaming model is losing steam everywhere. Games Workshop boasted 543 stores worldwide, with one of those coming from the United States and UK, with product carried in more than 6,000 stores. However, some gaming hobbyist locations are no longer carrying the product. Now, this is the video that I spoke about yesterday, or the day before yesterday. They got all these views and whatnot because people were mad. They were like, well, it's just a couple of stores. What's the big deal? And they don't understand that that's how it starts. right? That's how it starts. And if you were truly a fan of something, you would be worried if there was a bunch of stores choosing to not want to carry the product anymore. I would imagine anyway, unless you think you're too big to fail. Which, if you think you're too big to fail, then I would point you to a multitude of different studios, a multitude of different corporations, a multitude of different businesses that have all closed down or have lost a ton of money or have suffered massive layoffs, all because they thought they were too big to fail. So, yes, while it's just a couple of stores now, that is what eventually leads into the slippery slope, which could eventually be even more stores. And again, if you were a fan of something, I would implore you to be a little bit more concerned than just be like, well, it doesn't matter. Who cares about those stores? I'm sure that people who were buying from those stores probably cared about those stores, but it's great that you don't actually care about anybody else other than yourself. So two stores this year very publicly announced that they were going to stop carrying the product, one even stating that they are canceling more than $12,000 worth of orders, which is no light blow for the company. Now a YouTube user has revealed that a local games workshop in the UK has rebranded itself to Game Store to try to distance itself from the brand. I find that to be very interesting. And again, I don't know if there's any way to verify this completely, but if that's the case and they got rid of the name Games Workshop and decided to rebrand to Game Store, I don't understand how that's really going to help them in the long run. I feel like even with the backlash, it would probably be better if you kept the name Games Workshop, but again, I don't know. User David Watkins posted on the Trent Report YouTube channel saying, "My local Games Workshop has rebranded and now it's just Game Store. They've been empty since the female custodies crap. This is England. While actual gaming seems to be down, it appears as if Games Workshop might be relying on the film business model to make it go. Despite a slide in its stock in April after the female custodies turned off a lot of gamers, Games Workshop saw its stock rebound from its loss and more with the Prime Video streaming series announcement from Henry Cavill. The stock is currently sitting at more than 40% increase year to date, with a large portion of the gains coming from around the time of the announcement." Now, keep in mind, a lot of the people who were coping and seething in my comments, they were trying to bring up the stock as it was some sort of like a own, right? It was some sort of like, oh, we're doing just fine. Look at the stock. Okay. So, Mr. Genius, I don't know if you've looked at the stock lately, and I don't have it pulled up. All I have is a screenshot. But if you look at the stock for Games Workshop, you're going to realize very quickly that they've also been at this very similar high in the past. They've been at this high. And guess what? It dipped drastically. It dipped massively. And some would even argue that if it wasn't for the Henry Cavill TV show, there would not be the current surge that it's experiencing right now. It would still be exactly where it was, which is massively dipped from the previous high that it was at. So keep in mind, just because you're at a high now doesn't mean that you're not going to experience another dip again. It doesn't mean that your stock is magically just going to be okay for the rest of time. I think it's amazing that these fucking geniuses out here try to use this information as some sort of like, I got you, bitch. Look at us. We're back up again. Ha ha ha. Get woke, go broke. What's that? You know what I mean? And then they fail to understand history. They fail to just look at the stock and realize that they've been down heavily before, and they will most likely be down heavily again at some point in time, especially if this show comes out and people don't like it, right? Henry Cavill is a major fan of the Warhammer franchise, and I have all the trust in the world that he's going to do the right job when it comes to this TV show. And depending on how the trailers look and whatnot will determine whether or not I even watch it, let alone have time to watch it. But still, I have faith that he's going to do it the right way, given how hard he was fighting Amazon to make it happen. But keep in mind, he definitely had to make some deals with Amazon to even make it happen. He had to bend the knee in some aspect, some way, in order to strike a deal with the devil. There's no way Amazon is making him do this 100% of the way that he wants to do. They're going to want at least 10% at the bare minimum to decide what they want to do. And you already know what Amazon wants to do. So time will tell whether or not the TV show actually helps the franchise. But overall, yes, right now the stock is up. But keep in mind, from history, they've experienced a massive loss from being this high before. And if they keep their shit up, chances are, with the bad business practices and everything, they will 100% experience a massive loss again. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it if you get to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.